The Medici began as money changers, exchanging Italian currencies with customers and taking a percentage off the top as profit. They eventually gained success and grew to the point where they could afford to enter into politics. Florence was an independent republic that was run by a 9-man Signoria, of which one was elected every 2 months to govern the republic, called a Gonfaloniere. Usually, this role would be shared amongst the noble aristocracy, but given that new elections were held every 2 months, it is natural that people from lower backgrounds would eventually get their chance. In 1296, a man named Ardingo de' Medici was elected into his position for his 2-month term. A good impression must have been made, as another Medici family member was granted the role in 1299, Bicci, and again in 1314, Averardo de' Medici. This would have been a great deal for the little-known Medici family. And then came the Black Death in 1348, which wiped out the finances of most of the major banks in the region. Those wealthy bankers who had for years of experience and prestige paid to leave the city to escape the disease, leaving families like the Medici behind, families that were not wealthy enough to migrate, but had enough money saved where they could start a bank of their own. This economic power vacuum led to many Medici starting their own small banks across Florence. In 1378, a revolt broke out in the city, whilst a man named Salvestro de' Medici was Gonfaloniere. The revolt was led by a man named Lando, who led the wool workers against the government, wanting equal representation for the skilled labour class. They were known as the Ciompi, and this became the Ciompi Revolt. The Medici, despite being in power at the time, were nothing compared to the nobles of Florence. They were still commoners. This was Salvestro's chance. Could he perhaps sympathise with the revolters, remove the nobles, and become the hero himself? This he tried, and he released the prisoners in secret, who quickly escalated the revolt into a riot. The government was overthrown, and Salvestro was left be, due to his help and sympathy. Lando ruled Florence, but proved to be utterly useless, and frequently had to reach out to Salvestro for help, making Salvestro de facto ruler. The mob eventually discovered this and rose up again, causing Lando to panic. Salvestro advised they both combine their powers to form a militia, and then called them in against the people, restoring the old Signoria. Salvestro's meddling was fully exposed, and he was exiled alongside the rest of the Medici family, only saved the death penalty due to his role in also technically ending the revolt. With his death, he left his wealth and power to his also exiled yet innocent cousin, Vieri de' Medici. Thus is this family's history. As the Medici legend goes, when Charlemagne fought the Lombards in the 8th century, a knight, the ancestor of the Medici, named Averardo, visited a small village near Florence. This village was being terrorised by a giant. To save the village, Averardo hunted the giant and engaged him in combat. The giant's mace battered and severely dented Averardo's shield, yet Averardo was still able to slay the beast. This tale made such an impression upon Charlemagne that he allowed the knight to use the smashed shield as his noble insignia. Hence the Medici coat of arms. The red circles were meant to represent the dents. Or so the legend goes. If you do not subscribe to the idea of giants, then the alternative argument is that these were meant to be coins. However, the Medici certainly were not the first family, or the last, to make up legends about themselves to increase their prestige. Born in 1323, Vieri de' Medici grew up in a wealthy and influential family that had long been involved in the banking and merchant business. Vieri began his career as a banker at a young age, following in the footsteps of his family. He quickly gained a reputation for his shrewd business acumen, and his ability to negotiate deals with other bankers and merchants. By the age of 25, he had become one of the most important figures in the family's banking operations. In addition to his business activities, Vieri was also involved in the political life of Florence. When the Black Death arrived, causing widespread panic and devastation, Vieri played a crucial role in the city's response to the breakout. He organised groups of volunteers to take care of the sick and dying, risking his own life in the process. His efforts were widely praised, and he became known as a hero among the people. After the exile of the Medici, the Albizzi noble families had taken power and transformed the Republic into an oligarchy. Food was scarce, and the people revolted again. The mob began to protest, and they called upon Vieri to lead them, remembering how the Medici had supported them in the past. Vieri declined, yet asked them to follow his advice. They agreed, and Vieri marched the people to the Signoria, breaking his exile by entering the city. Vieri proclaimed to the government that he did nothing wrong and was merely turning over all of the criminals to the government. The mob quickly dispersed, the revolution crumbled, and for his dedication to the city, the Signoria welcomed the return of the Medici family back to Florence. The exile had been lifted. Vieri's most important move, however, was his tutorage of a man named Giovanni de Bicci de Medici. Vieri gave this young man a chance and kick-started his career in Florentine banking. Giovanni started at a low position working for Vieri, but gradually climbed the ranks, eventually attaining the status of a junior partner in the branch situated in Rome. This branch became incredibly successful thanks to the strategic insights of Giovanni. The retirement and death of Vieri will pass on enough wealth for Giovanni to found his own bank. Carrying with him the experience of his ancestors, the new Medici Bank would thrive and change the world forever. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learnt something. This has been part 1 of a 10-part series I've been working on for a very long time now. The problem is there's a lot of AI bot videos out there on the Medici Banking Family that are littered with errors. Please like and subscribe, as it helps me to be able to compete with those bots.